Hi, everyone. I am Maria, Dr. Maria Droujkova, co-president of the Natural Math Alliance. I am here today to wish you the happy upcoming Mathematics Storytelling Day. This will be an encore recording of the presentation for Education Alliance. So let's start. I believe everyone has a story to tell, everyone has a math story to tell. So we'll start with a little game. And for that game, we'll start a mathematics story. So think of three things you like, whatever comes to mind, and type your three things in chat. I happen to feel like kittens, airplanes, and playgrounds today. So that's my three things. And because that's a recording after the main event, you get to see what all people wrote. You can pause on that slide and other example slides to read it in more detail. And it was so lovely. Football, chocolate, mountains, pauses, exercise, so many lovely things. So here is the next part of that game. Pick one of your things. Notice three qualities it has. We do a lot of threes in storytelling, of course, and type those three qualities in chat. For example, I typed kittens are furry, they like to jump and have pointy ears. If you are playing alone, pause here and give yourself half a minute to do this. If you are just watching, you can see what people wrote. Like music is diverse, rhythmic, and archives our culture. Cookies are sweet, crunchy, and delicious. The taco has qualities of surface area, volume, and consistency, and so on. Lovely things. So the next part is to pick one of the qualities that you notice and start writing about your thing and its quality in kind of a fantasy or sci-fi or realistic setting of your choice. So again, there are three choices here of fantasy, something like once upon a time there was a kitten with pointy ears. And of course, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, pointy ear kittens. So you can go with some sci-fi tone or pick a setting for our world in a small village by a mountain lake. There lived a kitten with pointy ears. So I just made this up, spend about a minute making this up. If you're playing, or look at what we did. And then liken your thing and its quality to something mathematical you happen to know. Don't think too hard, just whatever comes to mind, and type that in chat if you are following along somehow. So I thought the kitten ears were like twin hyperbolic spaces. I just happened to be playing with hyperbolas, making some craft, some math circles, so that's what came to my mind. A lot of people will think of triangles when they look at kitten ears. There is literally no way to mess it up. It's all beautiful when you write stories. Good writing is rewriting anyway. So here are some of the starter stories people wrote. And again, you can read them, pause and read them. Here is the second slide with examples. So I hope you can pause and read those as well. So that's all beautiful. And what do you do next to turn that starter into the story? You just write and then and pause. Wonder what happens next in your story. Just think about it for a little bit, then sleep on it. Do something else, work, and go write for 3 more minutes tomorrow. If you do that for a week or so, you'll have a story draft. And then eventually you can edit it and make a little story that will be mathematical. So even in our experience, people wrote mathematical stories. There is a story in everyone, and they are all beautiful. So I just wanted to share 3 examples of published stories and how they start after having tried that exercise or game. That's just how a lot of stories start. So I'll read the beginnings of these 3 books from our authors at Natural Math. So this is Funville Adventures, and the chapter 1 starts, The Thief. Has anyone told you yet that things disappear on that slide? Lucy whispered to Amy, pointing to the old rickety metal contraption at the far corner of the playground. We call it the thief. So you immediately start to wonder what's that mysterious life, what's the deal with it, and so on. That's a good way to start the story. So Yin and the Magic Turtle is about magic squares, and you can see the turtle having that feature on the on its shell. So that's how the turtle appears in the book. Suddenly, a turtle emerged from the water and walked slowly by the 4 men. So that's something that starts the story of the magic square. And this one is our newest. It just came out. All our books are crowdfunded and Creative Commons, so I hope you can get them and check them out. It is about a famous puzzle, but made into children's book. So it starts with this introduction, carpets like the colors of the sunset, and just like the little stories we were making, our story begins a long time ago in a faraway land with a camel, a carpet, and a girl named Farzana. So, and then something happens, mathematics happens, beautiful stuff. So, we are going to talk a bit more about natural math. I mentioned that we published those books, and that's our motto. Math is what you make it. So, natural math is a community, an alliance of students, parents, teachers, and we do events like math circles or big festivals or small, nice local festivals, publish these books. Like Farzana just came out. All the books are Creative Commons. Please check them out and get them for your projects. And do a lot of partnerships and consulting of all kinds. So if you want a math friend, check with us. If you want to start a math circle or publish something or design some curriculum, let's play. What we do a lot of are holidays. Everyone loves a good party, and there are so many parties in the Mathland. So the one coming up, most close one, is Math Storytelling Day on September 25th. And on that day, oh, how we celebrate. We tell the classic stories, of course. This one is like ancient about the turtle never, and the fast person never catching up to it. But we also tell modern jokes or memes, write poems, read poems, write our fan fiction, mathematical, everything that has to do with storytelling. So there are many communities who celebrate that in some ways. And I just want to introduce a few of math story communities. So Mathical is a book prize and a book honor list. They just started a new grant for tier one schools in need in the US. So get some books for your school if that describes you. And they have a wonderful list of math stories just for your family or organization. Check them out. There are several neat programs. If you publish books, submit for their prize. Um, Counted Out is a profound movie, a film that came out this year, and a lot of math friends are in it or love it. Check it out. It warning. It's about social issues that can make you cry, but at the end it makes you smile because you see so many beautiful math friends doing interesting work that makes a difference. And that's how we make a difference. Better life, good world is possible with better mathematics. So here is another example of storytelling, very different storytelling. This one is very visual. It's like a museum art math story exhibit and also a comic and also somehow a sea shanty song. It's all of it very creative. A lot of math people got together and did this wonderful exhibit. It's in the Navajo Nation right now, and you can get the story online in many languages. It's all Creative Commons as well for the materials that they have. So that's just an example of how people celebrate storytelling in mathematics. There are many organizations like that. Right now, we are running a project with Benjamin Banneker Association and CTM and MathKind about community math stories. So if you want to submit a short story for that or are interested what community math stories are, let's talk about this and share. Thank you very much for listening, and let's tell more stories. Everyone has a math story in them.
You're going to use the thing. Um, How does that work? This is what Snap looks like. So on the left-hand side, you have the blocks in the palette. So this is all the programming commands that we have right now. You can also add your own ones. And what I already prepared here is a simple drawing program. So the resource is based on the $1 gesture recognizer from the University in Washington. And it's basically a very simple, for prototyping purposes, gesture recognizer. And what I have here so far is a program where I can draw unistroke gestures. So for example, this heart. And in the resource, we want people to actually animate their own drawings. So I have a couple of blocks prepared here. The animate block that can take my actual drawing and turn it into an animation. So for my heartbeat, for example, I maybe want to repeat 10 times, increase the size by 10. And then I want to reset it. And since heartbeats are more like this, so I'm just doing the whole thing twice. Let me do this twice. And then whenever I click on this, it's doing the heartbeat. However, I want to automatically recognize it and automatically trigger the reaction whenever I draw a heart. So what I also already added here is this variable for the sketch. So we can't really, we need something we can compare my drawing with. So I'm adding the positions that I'm drawing to my sketch variable whenever I draw this. I can also show this here. And what I'm having here in the sketch variable is just a list of 138 coordinates that I went to. So on the stage here, on this visual output, we have a coordinate system. The origin of the coordinate system is in the center of the stage. And now I can, so this one had 138 coordinates. So now I can draw another heart. very slowly, very carefully. And now you can see that this one has 497. So to actually make them comparable, I need to normalize them. And this is what the resample block does. So here with the regular render block, I can see how I actually drew my heart. And here I can see I was drawing very slowly here. Here I was drawing a bit faster. Let me try this again with less points. This is what I drew. And the resample block lets me redistribute the points evenly across the path. We provide that block. It's not super hard to do, but it's just tedious. So we just give this block to you. And if I render my resampled sketch, you see that compared to the sketch that I've been drawing, now the points are distributed evenly. And I can now use this to train my AI. And I'm doing that by just adding it as an example. So this is my heart. Chip. I'm drawing another heart. Chip. And then I'm drawing another heart. Chip. And then let me draw something else. Let's do a star, maybe. Doing a star. And let's do another star. And now I can already start recognizing these things. So for example, if I draw another star, and I prepared this one already too, I can use the recognize block and it will predict what's the closest, the nearest neighbor to what I've drawn. And it actually does that by comparing the distance between each of the 64 points. And then reporting the one in my, it's going through all my examples and it's reporting back the one that has the least distance between all the points with my drawing, with my sketch that I currently made. So it's a very, very simple nearest neighbor thing, but it works quite well. That's why it's a prototyping algorithm, because it works super well with very little examples. So let me try it again. Now this one is a heart. And now I can use this word that I'm getting back with the recognize block as a broadcast. So whenever I'm drawing something, I can broadcast this word that I'm receiving, and I can react to this word with the when I receive hat block. And now when I draw a heart, it should trigger the reaction. If I'm drawing a star, nothing should happen because I didn't do anything for a star yet. So let's add that too. When I receive star, I don't know, let's flicker a bit so I'm showing it and then I'm hiding it. And so I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm waiting a little bit in the middle and in the end. And we're not just doing it once, but we can do it like 3 times or something. So if I'm drawing a star, I'm getting this flickering star. And if I'm drawing a heart, I'm getting the heart. So this is the general idea how this works. And now you can use that with kid stories, for example. So here I started a very simple one with I'll just tell the story. So once there was a leaf somewhere out in the nature, and on that leaf was a tiny egg. And the egg started moving, and then suddenly a tiny caterpillar came out of it. And oh, come on, this is my caterpillar. So you can also see sometimes you just have to retrain it because it didn't recognize what you wanted to do. So now this was my caterpillar. Let me try it again. There we go. So this is my tiny caterpillar. And the tiny caterpillar was slightly hungry. So the first day it ate 1 apple. The second day it ate pears, then plums, then whatever. And on the last day it even ate 5. This is an orange. Oranges. And after there's 5 oranges on the Friday, it was still very hungry, so it went over to eat less healthy food. It started with a lollipop and ate tons of lollipops, and then it went on and found some ice cream. So it started to eat a lot of ice cream too. And then suddenly it got very, very sick. It felt a bit sick in the stomach and it's like, oh, maybe I'll just have to sleep. And also the tiny caterpillar suddenly wasn't that tiny anymore. Okay, so now let me try drawing my fat caterpillar. That didn't work before. I'm not very good at drawing. This doesn't make this easier. So this is my very fat caterpillar. Let's just trigger this by And so the very fat caterpillar now started to sleep. And while it was sleeping and dreaming, it was thinking about what it could eat next. And it was dreaming and sleeping and thinking what it could eat next. But when it woke up on the next day, it wasn't a caterpillar anymore, but it was instead a beautiful butterfly that could fly away. So the idea is that we obviously, like, I made this whole project, but we tried it in workshops that we give different pages of children's books to different groups. And then each group does like 1 or 2 pages. They can come up with their own story, like the ones that we just did, because you can animate whatever you want. Like, you're creating the examples, you're creating the animation, so you can come up with your own original stories. Sometimes it's easier for kids if there's something that they can work along with. And what was really important to us is that you also have to kind of present it in the end. And it could be a very animation heavy thing if you don't really like talking. It could be a very talkative thing and you just do a tiny bit of animations, but the idea is that you have to do it in combination and also have to show off your work. Yeah, so this is one way how we think you could teach artificial intelligence and storytelling at the same time. Add these slides sent around later because I added all the links to my project, the starter project, and some resources how if you want to follow along like step by step. And then I just wanted to share, because I once attended a workshop that I really liked a lot too. This also works with physical computing. So in this workshop, every group that attended got 1 page from the Where the Wild Things Are books, and you got the text, and you also got the pictures. And the job was to animate the picture with physical computing devices. So we got sensors, we got LEDs, we got servo motors. Like, this was my project, mine and Miri's. So we had the one where he was on the boat. So we cut out the boat, and then the boat could move with the servo motor, and we had this sea, and the sun could go up and down. So this is a couple of interesting ideas how you could combine computing. Like, here you see this is the physical computing device that we were using. A couple of ideas how you could combine computer science, math, and storytelling, as well as children's books. And if you're interested in more of that, feel free to reach out to me. I usually respond to my emails. If not, just send them again. And then that's it. Thanks for your attention.
Hey, what about a round of applause? Jadga, that was fabulous, especially about like computational skills. You could do math stories like we just heard from Maria. AI coding, fabulous, because you could use it literally for any subject area. So I'm sure there'll be questions about it. Brilliant. Just in the interest of speeding along, Vincent, over to you, and then hopefully we'll have 10 minutes for general Q&A. So thanks, Jadga, and over to you, Vincent.
Fantastic. Can I just check that you can hear and see my screen okay?
Yes.
Indeed.
Fantastic. Okay, hi everyone. And yes, so as I mentioned, my name is Vincent, Associate Professor of Mathematics Education at the University of Reading here in the UK, but also the founder of a non-profit initiative called Math Through Stories as well. I think obviously I'll be saying a few words about what the initiative is all about, but I think before we get to that point, it's really important for us to spend 1 or 2 minutes to ensure that we all have a shared understanding of what we mean by the Math Through Story approach, particularly what we mean by mathematical stories. So to help us with that, I'm going to share with you 2 very special examples of mathematical stories. The reason why they are special is because they're not written by professional authors, they are written by students. And in this case, they are mathematical stories that have been sent to me as part of an annual international mathematical story writing competition that I organize every year since 2019. And again, if there's time, I can say a few more words on that as well. But the very first example is called How to Win an Argument Using a Scatter Diagram. And this story is created by a 13 years old student in the Maldives. So in the UK, that would be secondary school. In the US, I believe that's middle school. So this is a short mathematical story picture book. What I mean by short is that it only has 6 pages. So as you can see there, the first 2 pages, page 3 and 4, page 5 and 6, the end. So this story is about Anna. the young girl there, and she lived with her brother. And every time that she turned and look at her brother, she noticed that he spent all of his free time playing with his phone on the screen, and she become very worried. So she tell her brother that, look, surely this can't be good for you, good for your health. It can't be good for your schoolwork. And the younger brother, being the younger brother, he go, where's the evidence? If you can share, if you can give me the evidence, I will listen to you. And so Anna, like that challenge, so on the next day, she goes to her school and asks her peers for two pieces of information. The first piece of information is on average how long they spend playing with their phone per day. And the second piece of information is what is their school test score grade. And then she put those two pieces of information from all of her peers onto that simple two-column summary table that you can see on the left-hand side. It's okay, but it's not great because what she has there on page 3 is it doesn't really show any clear trend or relationship between the two pieces of information. So she go to her math teacher and asked for advice. And that's when her math teacher introduced her the concept of scatter diagram and also the concept of positive correlation, negative correlation. And Anna apply what she have learned from her math teacher to create her very own first scatter diagram using the data that she collected herself. And she, as you can see there on page 5 on the left-hand side, guess what? There is a negative correlation between those two things. So the longer you spend time playing on your phone, the lower the school grade you will likely get. And then on the last page, page six, she presents that evidence to her brother, who go, oh, okay, so that appears to be actual evidence now. I will listen to you. And then some of you may think, Vince, this is a great example. However, surely this would be too advanced for younger children because it involve a whole range of things, creative thinking, problem solving, right, literacy skill, numeracy skill. Well, rest assured that it's not the case at all. Again, from my competition that I just mentioned to you before, we have seen several tangible evidence from the younger students as well, because this competition is open for is for students age 4 years old, so preschool all the way to 16. So this particular example is called the Grapefruit Adventure with Elena, and it's from a 4 years old child here in the UK, but I think originally she's from Sri Lanka. So this story is even shorter. It has 4 pages. So again, page 1, page 2. If I can draw your attention to page 1 first on the left-hand side, this is a family in Sri Lanka. The mom is hosting some kind of a soiree, a dinner party tonight, and one of the things that she will be offering to her guest is a bowl of fruit salad. And so she sent her 2 kids off to a local market to get 10 pieces of fruit. So there they are on page 2 on your right-hand side. The problem is that when they put the 10 pieces of fruit onto the basket that they have, it becomes too heavy for any one of them to carry it all the way back home. So that is the problem. What's the mathematical solution? Well, the 2 siblings decide to use their mathematical knowledge of division to equally divide the number of fruits that they had onto the two basket. So as you can see on page 3 on your left-hand side, each of them now only have to carry 5 pieces of fruit, a basket with 5 pieces of fruit, which is much more manageable. And then on page 4, the last page, the mom looking very happy because she got the fruit she needs. So on my website, you will see many more examples from students around the world, the global north, the global south, from a whole range of age range, 4 to 16, covering a whole range of different mathematical topics. And I'll leave you the web address of that website. So in summary, what do we mean by mathematical story? I would say they are narrative that illustrate how mathematical knowledge and skills can be used by characters in the story to help them solve a problem in a meaningful context. And many of you will hopefully be familiar with the idea of, this traditional way of using mathematical storytelling where teachers would be reading a math story picture book to their class and maybe do some activity with that. And the focus is very much on preschool children. I really want to move away from that very old model, which has been around for decades and decades, to a new way of empowering students to become active participants in their own mathematical learning by getting them to become mathematical storytellers. They have to think actively about the context, about the visualization. So they're not just going to be sitting there passively listening to a story being told by their teacher anymore. It's going to be a new way that our initiative really want to promote. We obviously won't have time to go into any details about the pedagogical benefits, but if I were to spend 1 minute to talking about some of the key pedagogical benefits, I would argue that this approach gives a meaningful context for mathematical learning, moving away from just mindlessly completing this kind of worksheet to actually getting them to think actively about meaningful context, meaningful way to apply the mathematical concept that they have just learned in a meaningful problem-solving context. And as part of my competition, next year I will start asking participants to start thinking about linking that mathematical story to one of the SDGs, so we can really show the world that from our very young people, they can already start thinking about using that mathematical knowledge to help solve real-world problems aligned with the SDGs, the various SDGs. The second pedagogical benefit I would say is in relation to how, because it's a story picture book, the keyword there is picture, they have to design page illustration. What that means is that they have to think carefully about how they're going to visualize what is otherwise abstract mathematical concept in the work that they are producing. And then number three, so that is the picture of the 4-year-old girl who wrote the fruit story. As you can see there, I really believe that this approach would help mathematics become less scary subject to learn. And you can see from this child herself, she said, I wanted to help children learn math in a fun way. For teachers, we like to draw and tell stories with math. It makes learning math so fun. This is the author of the How to Win an Argument Using Scatter Diagram. And she said the process of creating this mathematical story picture book was interesting and fun. Writing mathematical story picture book can help other students understand and learn to love math. And I would also argue as well that the traditional mathematical story picture book written by professional authors, they're not great, partly because sometimes they carry some gender stereotype. So this particular example, that the women are not doing any of the math in the story. They're just kind of lurking behind a tree, and then the person who win the math competition in the story got to marry the princess, and then that's it. That's the only role of female in the story. The reason why I think this approach, this new way of teaching and learning mathematics is great, because we don't have to care anymore what gender, how gender or ethnicity is portrayed in professionally authored math story picture book, because students can portray themselves into their stories. And we see there the main character of that story is a young Muslim girl who happened to be wearing an orange headscarf, and guess what, who is the person writing that story? Is the exact a young Muslim girl wearing an orange headscarf. And then the last thing there, I really believe in this approach, because to me, it doesn't require any kind of expensive fancy equipments or expensive Wi-Fi. All you need to make this high quality way of teaching mathematics work is some pieces of paper and a pencil and a lot of imagination. And that's why I truly believe that it would work well, not just in the global north, but in the global south as well. In the last 60 seconds that I have, I just want to end by just saying that the Math Through Stories, we essentially work on four key strands of activity. The first is we generate evidence. So then, the whole approach is evidence-based. We have done research, but we're going to be doing more research. The current research that we're working on is in collaboration with colleagues at Cambridge and UCL in London, but many other partners on other previous projects. We also provide support and provide support and training. So our website, since its launch in 2017, has been visited by more than, has been visited over 2 million times by more than 500,000 teachers and parents from over 220 countries. And I have so far provided training on the topic to more than 5,000 teachers internationally as well. We create resources to support students to create their own mathematical story picture book. And then the third strand of activity is that we organize fun, engaging outreach programs like the annual mathematical story writing competitions. We launched that in 2019, and so far the competition has inspired over 5,000 students from more than 30 countries to create their own math story picture book already. And then number 4, I'm not sure if you can see the heading there, but essentially to say that we also engage with policymakers, be it in collaboration with my colleague at UNESCO and the OECD, or me directly with ministries of educations in different countries. The example there from the Maldives event a few weeks ago. And then essentially just the last slide there, just to say that if you want to learn more about us, feel free to take a snapshot of this slide with details of where you can find us. But I want to draw your attention to the text in red there as well, to say, given your expertise and knowledge in the areas of fundraising in this kind of domain. So if there's any suggestions from any of you on potential funding that we can apply for to help expand our initiative internationally, particularly in the context of the Global South, I would love to hear from you. And I will draw that to a close there.
Well, let's give a round of applause. Thank you, Vincent. That was terrific. And I will say that, again, our contributing roles will be able to share this information with our wider network, so Vincent, Maria, and Jagda as well, to raise awareness of your great works. All right, so we have time for, be really specific with your question, please, for who it's directed towards. And then we'll see if we can get a few questions in. So let's go, turn it over. Folks, raise your hand or just go off mute and then ask your questions. Vincent, I'm going to start with, who does the illustrations? Is it the kids themselves? Keep your answers short, and then we'll move around as well. Do you have a case of kids doing stories, and then it's a good story that you get another illustrator to do the illustration? And Maria, that might be relevant for you as well.
So the short answer is yes, and the slightly long answer is that that is part of the whole purpose of this way of teaching and learning mathematics, in a sense that we want students to be actively thinking about not just a meaningful context, but also clear visualization that that can help their peers or other people see the math in the story. So yes.
And Maria, so how do you, Maria, compare and contrast your approach with what Vincent was just talking about.
So we do both things. We work with authors who are educators and publish books with professional illustrations. And we do what we did at the beginning of my presentation, we do it with children. And yes, young children are totally have so many stories in them. 4, 5, 6-year-olds, they can do it. I think we are trying to connect it to all 60+ subject areas of mathematics, not necessarily school subject areas, but all of them. So that's a particular thing we do at Natural Math.
And so, and Vincent and Maria, what I see is similar to what Jagda, they're creative opportunities for youth to create their own. It's to integrate sort of like the creativity to manifest it. So Jagda, you could literally use it for any subject area as well, but it's also additionally that they're learning computational skills as well. So I'm curious, Jagda, do you ever pair them together, that it's an activity and you're basically pick a subject area, let's say math, that you want the kids to illustrate, or is it just broad, like whatever you're interested in, it's a creative process?
Honestly, I don't do that because I'm not a teacher. I don't work in a school. I work on this programming language for a company. So I only ever meet kids in like programming workshops. But I have heard from teachers that they did it in German class, for example, when they talked about fairy tales. So that was an example that I had a teacher from school tell me, that they split up like Grimm's fairy tales and then everybody had to illustrate their fairy tales. So that totally works, like in language classes too.
I love it. And is Aaron still on? And Aaron, I was thinking about SIL and the product that you have. If people want to take their stories and translate it from one language to another, that's another complementary sort of function of the Bloom software, right, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to email the folks on this call and just make them aware of the resource. Bloom's a free open source tool for creating and posting stories online.
Great. And
Yeah, thank you, Tony.
Yeah, Vinod, you had a question?
Yeah, question for Jadga. Is there, first of all, in case I missed it, is this tool openly available for everyone to use? And what is the link for us to use it?
Yeah. So Snap is a general purpose programming language. It's the URL is snap.berkeley.edu. And as I said, it's a kind of an advanced version of Scratch. We used to have the same code base, and that like diverged a couple of years ago. But it's like the idea is that we try to keep to the Scratch core and then develop stuff that on top that you need to do. That's not supposed to sound mean, but like actual computer science, because Scratch just bottoms out at some point, and then if you want to do computer science, you need just a couple of more functionalities, like working with data, building your own functions like blocks that return values, so we can do all that. But the idea is that we work with Scratch kids, and then they feel familiar, but they can do the additional stuff, and you can reach it there. It's free and open source, APGL license. Code is on GitHub. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, as well. Other questions for, I mean, again, not enough time, so I'm going to have a remedy for that, just to conclude going around. So any other? All right. So first of all, Vincent, Maria, and Jagda, in a short period of time, thank you for sharing your great experiences. One of our roles at the Education Alliance is to see how we could bring people like this together to build on each other's, but also to see how we could further disseminate it. So we talked about our e-news. I'm thinking the three of you should get on a plane and fly to Fiji with us when we do our STEMtastic Adventures conference. I don't know if you're interested, any of you? Vincent, I know you're already on vacation right now, so thank you for joining us. But I'm serious about our role to be able to capture this, to share with our audiences, and the Marvelous Education Workshop in Washington is part of it. Just as a side note, Maria, we weren't clever enough to capture your presentation at the beginning on a recording. So I'm going to kindly ask if either you want to stay a few minutes afterwards, or we just arrange another time so that we could disseminate your presentation as well. So apologies about that as well. Not enough time, too short. I will drop in another thing that I was thinking of as we were going along. The Ireland Math Festival is an example that, Mark, you shared with me in terms of some of the great creative activities they do. And Mark, maybe the next webinar we do, you could talk about math festivals as well. And I know, for example, they do a poster competition with kids, another example of a creative writing opportunity. And then I'll share a link, a math video that I just saw from Arlington Public County, that they did a rap video around a math concept. And so, all sorts of creative ways that we could use to connect the mathiverse. Before we conclude, any other aha moments that people want to share, or a quick update about an activity that your organization is working on before we wrap up? Quick 15-second vignettes, anything that people want to share? Okay, great. All right, so then we hope to see some of you at future events. Let us know, Effie, we'll collect examples from this and we'll put it into e-news, maybe around storytelling that Maria just let us know about. Vincent, welcome as a new member as well. Thank you. Vincent, where are you on vacation right now?
In London.
Okay, all right. Well, they really appreciate your joining us as well. We'll stick around for 5 minutes afterwards if anybody has anything else they'd like to let us know. But want to thank you for combining our groups together. It was lots of fun, and look forward to seeing you in 3D or 2D or whatever at other future events. So thanks all for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.